A very good evening and welcome everybody to another episode of Eclectica That Different News. Well, you might have heard a lot during the pandemic times about PCR, RT-PCR, DNA, RNA. So all these deals, things that happens and how the testings are done, there are a lot of things inside that we are born with DNA. And therein comes the word genomics. But a lot of companies have come up now in India with providing services to help people solve disease problem identifying at even before we have symptoms. But well, I am not here to speak on genomics today, so don't worry. As you all know that Eclectica is a special podcast where I bring people and enthusiasts and founders who are actually making their hands dirty, going inside deep down into the society, and they are the real people who are into the game of solving problems. So today I have a very young entrepreneur and an enthusiast, Saurav Jaiswal, who is the co-founder and MD of Diverse Genomics. And I'm very proud to say that this company is in Kolkata because many of you know that I am a Bong by birth. I'm a Bengali by birth. So when it comes to genomics company in Kolkata, it is something which always brings sparks on my eye. So well, I will not waste any more time and let me see if my guest is here. And today we will talk on very real and practical things, not the flashy Instagram selfie kind of thing, but the real challenges that lies in this industry and how Shorav at Diverse Genomics is actually dealing with these challenges and how they are as a team solving those challenges. So let me just see if my guest is here. Yes. Very good evening, Shorav. Thank you so much for being on Eclectica and accepting my invite. It is a pleasure meeting you again on this platform on Eclectica.
Thank you, Dr. Gagi, for the invite. I'm looking forward for it. I hope this discussion will enlighten a lot of people on this because, as you know, genomics is a very new subject, at least in India. It's been almost a decade or so we are working on that, but it has got a huge potential. And in fact, as you said, like this is one thing which is a game changer in the healthcare domain. So yes, preventive care is one of the biggest thing which is coming up, so let's have a discussion. Thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast. Looking forward
Yeah,
for it.
but Shaurabh, before going into the discussion, I am very excited to know about you because I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, you come from a typical commerce graduation and then MBA background, and suddenly you become the co-founder of a genomics company. So I think before I shoot my questions to you, I think your journey itself is a bag of inspiration. So can you please tell us your journey and what is the story all about?
Yes, so the journey of getting into this biotech and being an entrepreneur and running a genomics company come from my personal tragedy. So I lost my mom due to brain tumor and cancer at a very early age. So that has motivated me to start of this company because at that time in India back in 2008 and 9, so there was nothing in head and neck cancer at that point of time. So there was no biomarkers discovery as well. So recently there has been a lot of development in this, but at that time I had a knack of learning how I can save my mom or better diagnostic thing. But at that point of time there was nothing as such for the head and neck. So that has inspired me with help of couple of people out here in Calcutta, those who are also among founders with me and my company. So one of them is from San Francisco. He's also a research scientist. Couple of scientists are there as a co-founder with me working. So the inspiration comes from my personal tragedy of my mom, and I think cancer is one of the biggest problem in India. So if the problem is big, then it means that the challenges are also big. It's not a small challenge. So I'm trying my level best to overcome this problem. I think if we can do some kind of preventive care for people, if we can test people at an early age, because if you find in India, once you go for a cancer diagnosis, you find that you get your treatment once you are in the late stage, stage 3 or stage 4, where doctors and medical expert cannot do much about you.
Right.
So the if you can see the background, it says that early detection can save your life. So that is our one of our mission, where at least from the clinical symptoms there are very advanced technologies which has come up, like
Hmm.
genomic sequencing and single cell genomics. So
Right.
that can help you to understand your disease at a molecular level at a very advanced, I mean, at a very early stage. So that can be personalized, programmed, and you can come out of it. So for example, like breast cancer, if early screening is there, I'm sure there are already FDA approved drugs. So
Right.
people can be cured, I mean, in a very efficient way without any pain, of course.
Fantastic. I think, as I said, that your start point is inspiration to many people who are listening out there, and definitely to me, because I am also a big believer when it comes to genomics, and an enthusiast, of course. So, and
Mhm.
I'm very happy that you made it in Kolkata, because I think there are very less companies in this space. Probably you might be one of the pioneer companies. In the eastern part of of our country,
Right.
because most of it is like we see a good boom in the southern part of India, of course. So I think that is something which really calls for appreciation, and I think it's a groundbreaking thing that you have already started the journey. So well, Saurabh, today we are here to actually talk about the real things, the real stuff. Like as I said while starting this conversation,
Mhm.
we all talk about good things, but I know the field that you have chosen and the way that you have taken, I think there are a lot of challenges you face. And that, I think that is one thing, that practical thing should come out from a founder like you. I think it makes real sense. So with that
Mhm.
thing, can you
Mhm.
give me an overview of the current state of genomics industry and its significance in the field of healthcare and research? Like, overall, what is your view on this? What is your take?
See, if you see in genomics industry, like a lot of companies have mushroomed, and they are everybody is trying to get into this healthcare domain where it is coming in a very big way. So
Right.
everybody believes that whatever we are doing currently in the current scenario of diagnostic, so
Hmm.
genomics is an advanced version where preventive technologies or preventive care thing comes into the picture. So you don't need to go once you have an illness, you can predict your illness much before and get rid of that, right? So that way personalized therapy is coming to the picture, where your drug can be programmed according to your genetic profiling. So
Hmm.
you don't get any side effects of the particular drugs if you go for a genomic profiling. So that can help patient. If you see in the data also, you find that a lot of death happens worldwide, not in India, because of the adverse side effects of drugs. So pharmacovigilance can also come into the picture. It is slowly coming into the picture. Even government is also getting awakened by us. I mean, a lot of players who are coming to this kind of a things. So, for example, like drug response. So
Right.
you find like we already have a tolerance of so many drugs which are already available. So
Hmm.
once you go into a ICU, you if a doctor pushes you some injection or would give you a dose of drugs, so you find that it's not working with your body.
Hmm.
So in that case, these kind of profiling and test will come into the picture and will have the patient outcome, because these are unmet needs. Like people are not aware, okay, this kind of test is also possible. For example, if a couple is planning for a baby, so
Hmm.
they are like you might find like out of 10 people, 10 out of 1 people, you find that people are suffering from Down syndrome still now.
Yes.
But there are already so many affordable tests available, but the awareness is not there.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the government, the other stakeholders, companies like us, or I mean, podcast or this kind of awareness should be really there for people to understand. Okay, we have these tools, and we can utilize this tool for a better outcome. So, nobody wants to give a birth to a unwell child, right? So everybody wants to have a healthy planning or a healthy family planning. So these kind of molecular and a genetic test can come into the picture. So this is really promising.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Shora, for giving that very crisp and in a simple
Yeah,
way. I
like
think, yeah,
right, like even in I said about NIPT. So in cancer diagnostic also,
right,
like if you must have known, like in the current situation in India and in Calcutta, you find that generally people go for chemotherapy or radiation therapy. So
correct.
if you personally meet any medical oncologist,
Mm.
trust me, I've been meeting a lot of oncologists day in, day out. So the problem with oncologists, they don't want to give chemotherapy, you know.
Yes.
So they are looking for some kind of solution where you can do a scoring and can tell you that okay, this is the best for that person or not. So
Mm.
end of the day, that chemotherapy or radiation, it kills your immunity system. And end of the day, after 5 years or 10 years down the line, you find that case and that cancer patient is no more. So
True.
that kind of thing can help at least in the cancer diagnostic, and it is coming in a very big way. So there are a lot of preventive cares and things are already there in this thing. So we are
Mm.
also working on our proprietary test called Kirk, which is also a advanced molecular test where we can predict over 50 different type of cancer in a just single blood test. And the blood test is a liquid biopsy test where
Mm.
we find out your ctDNA and cfDNA, which is there in your body once you have a tumor. So before your clinical symptoms come up, so generally your the tumor fragments are already there in your blood. So they shed
Right.
that fragments in your blood. So by doing deep sequencing and extraction, so we can identify from a single drop of blood if you have a cancer or not. So
Mm.
that kind of advancement has already come up in India. The affordability is not there. I mean, the purchasing power in India is not there. That is why people are not aware.
Mm. But I think with time, because we have like as a field of science, this has grown quite rapidly. And
Right.
when you talk about sequencing, I think the cost has also come down, and in future maybe it's just a matter of time that it would be kind of
Right.
a routine test, like how people are taking blood tests every now and then. I mean, the biochemical blood test. So I think it's just a matter of time. So Shora, just out of curiosity, I would like to
Mhm.
ask you, my next question is that, um, what do you think are the, I mean, what are the most major challenges that a genomics industry is currently facing, and particularly
Mhm.
I would like to know specifically about Kolkata. Yes, so that would be
Okay.
really nice.
So yeah, so a company like Genomics, which is into biotech research. So,
Right.
once you are into genomic, you need a huge capital expenditure on infrastructure, maybe a genomic
Correct.
sequencing instrument or a lab setup, or people who are working professionally, maybe scientist or technician.
Hmm.
So this thing require huge amount of capital, and you have to have persistence also. You have to be patient while working. So you cannot find it that if somebody is running a genomic company, you get your ROI within a year or so. So the
Hmm.
gestation period compared to SaaS company or any other fintech service company is totally different. You start a company today, maybe you start running million of dollars company maybe in a couple of years. But with genomics company, you like for us, standardization and validation is one of the biggest process for us
Hmm.
because our test and all are accredited from a Annual accredited kind of a thing or any other accreditation body. Again, that validation requires a lot of time, and you cannot
Right.
just validate in one people. I mean, I just take your sample and cannot validate and tell that okay, this is the best test. So at least you have to have a minimal number of patients to validate your test, meet clinicians so that they appreciate your test. Okay, this is the quality what they are preferring. So it
Hmm.
takes huge amount of time and patience, and a lot of collaborations also is required. So because genomics is just not one expertise, because you need to have understanding on computer science also. So bioinformatics comes into the picture. So just
True.
doing wet lab part is not the thing. You have to have a hands-on your computer and your coding expertise also, because end of the day you can generate a lot of data, but what
Yes.
about analyzing the data, right? So
Hmm.
that is what the outcome which you and me like a common people would require. So if I tell
Correct.
you I can do a whole exome sequencing of yours, and then you'll ask me what I'll do with the data if it
Correct.
cannot give me a proper interpretation. So that interpretation and understanding is pretty much required. So that is one of the biggest challenges. And again, like if you see the data security and things are also not that streamlined in India.
Hmm.
So for example, if I give my sample to you, so you have to have a proper consent form and think that do I
Yes.
really want to share my genomic data to you or the company or not. So it is
Hmm.
my personal choice whether I want to do it or not. So that consent has to be there. That is one of the reason we don't find it generally it's in the practice in India. So but if you go abroad, you find that is a very streamlined process. So
Yes.
patient have got all the right whether they want to share the data for, I mean, diagnostic, or we really
Hmm.
want to share the data for a research purpose also, so that it can help a lot of patients who are suffering like you.
Correct. Correct.
So a
Okay.
lot of ethical consideration are there, you know.
Mhm. I think it's really, I mean, the point that you told is validation, because here it's like, you just can come up and in the morning and with a cup of coffee and tell, okay, I have this test. Hello, you can take it. This is very good. So I think that is one of the biggest thing in this space, because we are, and that too, you have to convince not only the takers, I mean, the consumers, but as well the healthcare professionals with proper data and proper validated results, so that because ultimately it affects, or it would go through the healthcare professionals mostly, if I am not wrong. So
Hmm.
definitely they would be more, what to say, more precise in taking up this kind of things and talking about it to their
Right,
patients.
because just a sharing with you, like
Ah,
for example, if there are 10 patients, right, we are generating data, right?
hmm,
So there would be some biasness in the data. Suppose if we generate the data for 100 patients, then the result would be different. So if we
correct,
generate data for 10,000 people or lakh people, then the data would be different, right? So
correct.
I believe like more data, the more breakthrough you can get into.
Yes,
So
yes,
just doing something or standardizing or validating your diagnostic test or some protocols with a limited number of patients is not gonna help out to you. At least you need to have a minimal number of samples so that the data is rich and you
hmm,
can present it maybe in a publication, or you can approach clinical, and then they will have a trust. Okay, this guy
yes,
or this company has done at least 100 patient pool, and that is something remarkable, at least that can be done rather
correct.
than doing on a small sample size.
Very true, very true. And so, Shorav, how do you see the advancements in genomics technology influencing the diagnosis and treatment part of diseases in the coming future? What is, as a
So
visionary, what is your
genomics is coming, yeah. So this is one of my favorite questions, I can tell you. So
yeah,
genomics is something which is just moving leaps and bounds, and it has a huge potential. It can just transform the whole healthcare system, you know. So what are the routine tests we are doing right now, maybe for a urine culture or this thing? So that thing, they have a false positive or a false negative note. But once you come into the era of genomics, where companies like Illumina, who are providing their sequencing platform, they are
yes,
so much robust and accurate, so they
hmm,
can just sequence your entire genome, and there is no error rate as such.
hmm,
So that way, if you ask me, so a lot of preventive care things are coming up. So you don't have to wait to get something done. So you
hmm,
can just do a test and predict your future illness. So maybe it can be like a boom to people like us. It can be a boon, right? So
yes,
healthcare is already, like in India, you find the expectancy rate of compared to people in Japan and India is pretty different. So
yes,
in India, the rate has already decreased from 60 to maybe 58 or 57. You find a lot of early age youngsters are dying at the age of 50 due to cardiac arrest and hypertension diseases.
right,
So all these things can be monitored on a genomic profiling. So just a normal blood test can tell you I mean, or a oral test can tell you, DNA based test can tell you what future illness you can have in future,
yes,
from heart diseases to your skin color to your dermatology to your cancer treatment to your family planning. So everything can be predictable. So
hmm,
this would be a new kind of a section in the healthcare. Like if in India, if you think, so even my mindset is that unless I am ill, I won't visit a doctor or like that, right? So,
yes,
but that mindset is changing because, for example, if a cancer patient is there in a family, you find the whole family suffers. So
yes,
that is one of the biggest problem. So if you can predict your illness in future, I mean future illness, so
hmm,
your cost of the treatment also comes down, and the
correct.
suffering and the pain, as well as the I mean haphazard thing for the family as well. So everything can be minimized, but the awareness has to be there, why to go for a predictive kind of a thing and
Hmm.
not to wait for the diagnostic.
Very true, very true.
So things like single cell genomics is coming up in a very big way. Pharmacogenomics is coming in a very big way. Uh, CRISPR-Cas9 technology is coming in a very big
Yeah.
way. So suppose in future, if you want to have blue eyes, you can just come up to divergenomics maybe after 10 or 20 years. And if you want to have blue eyes, that can be done. If you want your baby to have blue eyes, that can be also done. So I'm not sure about the ethical thing right now, but maybe in future, once the technology is developed, definitely the government, and I mean the global government or the stakeholders globally, they will come up
Hmm.
with some kind of policy. So once
Absolutely.
the technology advance, and right now the whole genomics is into the research kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and still it is not there into the clinical segment. But
Mm.
slowly, once the things are validated on a larger population, I think maybe in couple of years or maybe in 5 to 10 years, a lot of things would be there with the approval to do it clinically. So
Correct.
we are also looking for that kind of thing where normal people or normal masses can utilize these kind of tests for their family, for their loved ones.
True, because I think as you said about like government taking looking up to this sector, because lately in probably it is 2020 if I'm not wrong, the Indian human genome sequencing project has started, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. So
Hmm.
I think that is one thing which is very promising, because I think genetically Indians, we are very genetically diverse. So instead of taking any other reference genome, I think this is a big step that
You
has
are
been taken.
you are absolutely right on that, Dr. Gagi. So like ethnicity in India is totally different. So instead of just running into different countries like USA, China, or any other, so you just come to India and just do a mapping of the entire state in India. You find so rich data compared to
Correct.
any other company. So that is something very remarkable what India has got. But
Yes.
still we have not utilized that kind of potential. uh,
Mm.
but a lot of government companies and government are coming up with that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
even we are also trying to map the profiling for patient in Eastern India, because again, like like somebody has a different staple food in Rajasthan, somebody has a different staple food in Calcutta. So
Yes.
that kind of thing also can influence your whole structure
Yes.
of your genetic makeup. So people are
Absolutely.
not aware. Like maybe I have rice in the afternoon or you have chapati in the evening. So that can also modify a lot of things inside your body.
Definitely.
So that can again have a lot of risk. For example, people eating rice can have a higher risk of diabetes.
Mm.
So that kind of study needs to be done. At least if government is coming up or a company like us, if there are a lot of companies like us who are coming to the picture, so end of the day it will help the society, right? So there are
True.
still a lot of unmet needs which are there, and we are working very hard to provide our people the best of the best services.
I understand, and as I said, like it's just matter of time, because any big revolution takes a bit of time, and I think with genomics, the way it is progressing, I mean, it is. I think in the next, as you said, in couple of, it's a decade, not even a decade, probably in the next few years. I think we will see the real, acceptance in the society in both ways, both consumer wise as well as the acceptance in the healthcare or medical with the medical professionals. So I think that is just a matter of time. So you were talking about ethical things, or the kind of policies. So are there any regulatory challenges, do you think, that need to be addressed to ensure the responsible and equitable use of genomic technologies?
Yes, of course. I believe the right of the data is totally of the patient. Suppose if I'm going for a sequencing,
Hmm.
so I'll give you an example. Okay, I will give you a practical example. So suppose I want to do a cancer profiling of my body. Okay, or
Right.
maybe a test or a cancer profiling, and suppose I go for a whole exome sequencing.
Hmm.
So the whole exome sequencing will definitely give you more data compared to a targeted sequencing panel.
Hmm.
So what about if the company has all your data, but they are providing you with a limited amount of data? So it means that company is also taking back some amount of data, maybe a precious data for the patient, but they're not
Hmm.
sharing it with them.
Hmm.
So that kind of transparency should be there, and the data is for the patient, and is the whole right of the data comes for the patient. So
Correct.
definitely there has to be have a very strict regulation on that, because there once, like the once the industry grows up, so you find a lot of data theft, lot of data mismanagement.
Correct.
Different companies or pharma companies or drug company might utilize your data which you are not aware also.
Yes.
So that is something very unethical. So if
Mm.
you find in first world country, which are developed country, they have a very streamlined process of data and like ethically. So
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, it's the patient, they need to get benefited and not the companies. So all the policies and thing has to be thought around the patients and not about the stakeholders.
True.
So
I think that's a very good thing that you told. And so Saurav, you have been in this space for quite a couple of, for quite some time. So, okay. By the way, so if somebody wants to know you, or they want to visit Diverse Genomics, so can you tell us where exactly in Kolkata you are located, and how you offer this test? I mean, how somebody can actually get a chance to get into your services. Yeah.
right. So we have a online and a digital presence. If somebody want to visit a lab, we are always open to it because we believe in transparency and we want to show people that what we are doing, and it's end of the day help to the society. During the during the time of pandemic, also we have served more than 20,000 patients. So we do home collection. That is one of our best services called point of care testing.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you are at hospital or at home or even on a holiday, if you want your sample to be collected pan India, we can do that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That's
also
great.
we are developing a lot of different kind of collection kit, which is
Mm-hmm.
non-invasive. So suppose if you want to go for any kind of STD testing, so maybe you just need to give a oral swab or something, and then we can just extract the DNA out of it and can give you a report. So like generally, you don't go. People don't want to go for a invasive technology because they are afraid of it.
Yes.
For example, if somebody has a breast cancer or want to check a risk of breast
Mm.
cancer, you cannot go every time for a needle biopsy, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if I provide you an option, okay, why don't you go for a saliva testing? Just spit in a vial and send us back to a lab, and we can just give you a report with this genomic sequencing. That is much more hassle free, right? And you will
Correct.
also take part in that kind of a thing rather than going for a surgery or a cut or a ICU. So that kind of thing we are putting into the picture as a consumer genomics product. But still, like the market needs to be a little mature because in India affordability is not there. Though the genomic prices, I mean the sequencing prices have eroded a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll just share it with you. Like once we started in 2014, and
Mm.
right now it is 2023. It's almost been 9 years. I've seen how the industry has taken a fold into this.
Mm.
So we were using real-time PCR from a very long time. It is a gold standard method. But
Correct.
during the pandemic, it went so viral that it was like a movie कि तुम्हारे पास बंगला है गाड़ी है मेरे पास RT-PCR है. So that
True.
that kind of thing has come up, and
Mm.
government plays a huge part in influencing your decision making, the awareness kind of a thing. So that is very much required from the government part.
Hmm. Correct. Because I think that sets the. I mean, government can only convince people, and they can set the benchmark, and that is how the common people can take advantage of these so precise and so very good things that the entire scientific community is behind building it up for the getting giving value to the society. So. Well, in this your entire journey of your diverse genomics in particular, so any success stories that, or any examples that comes to your mind that you can share with us, which, I mean, how genomics made a significant impact, any success stories that you can remember?
Yeah, for example, I'll give you like our liquid biopsy test what we offer right now. So
Mm.
that has been a very tremendous, I mean, aspect in our diagnostic, because
Okay.
earlier we have been meeting a lot of clinicians who are serving patient on the lung cancer part.
Correct.
So accessing samples from lung is very extremely high end job, so people need to
Yes.
go for a ICU, and even if you go for a needle biopsy, that is always not successful. You might rupture any part of the tissue in the lung. That can be again a lethal cause for the death. So that liquid biopsy test has been a boon to that kind of patient for their cancer monitoring and progression. And we have seen a lot of people overcoming that kind of cancer. They are hell and hearty right now. So with
Fantastic.
these kind of liquid biopsy tests, we have served a lot of patient out here in Calcutta. So we have seen a encounter a patient who was 76 years of age, and he was so bedridden that going to hospital and doing regular progression diagnostic was not possible.
Mm,
In that point of time, we thought of why don't we standardize this liquid biopsy test, which is coming up so well. But still,
right.
like once you have the technology, again, there are so much of hypothesis in that still you have to convince a lot of people that way.
Correct.
So you find people accepting liquid biopsy, you find people not accepting liquid biopsy.
Yes.
So that has been a trend. But as slowly the technology increases and we have a lot of technical advancement, this thing would be, trust me, it would be routine after a year or so. You find left and right people going for liquid biopsy.
Yes.
This will just change how sample are collected, at least for
Correct.
cancer. You ask a patient for biopsy, you find he's just mad out of it ki, what I am going through it, do I have a cancer? But biopsy is a routine test
Yes. That's the gold
for
standard.
any yes. So that kind of stories we have. So we are also coming up with a HPV test, which is uh, how I'll explain you. It is a swab test which we have come up. So you can just order it online. We'll ship it to you, and then you can collect your sample and ship it back to our lab. So you don't need any phlebotomist for it. You don't need any assessment. So you just read the paper. There are videos online available. So you can just collect your own sample and send us back to our lab. You don't need any kind of help on that way. So that is new kind of invention or small kind of innovation. We do it on daily basis to keep us
Fantastic.
apart from the industry players.
Fantastic. So and I really congratulate on this, because you really need to have a very, not only a creative mind, but a creative team, and a very supportive team who are into in this game with you. So I mean, that's a
Mhm.
fantastic thing. So Shaurav, just that,
Mhm.
when we talk about awareness, and when you talk about this anything, I think one thing which runs in my mind, because I am personally, I am more into educationist or academician by nature. So what do you think is, like, what we need to do to increase more awareness? What kind of awareness drives would be really good, so that it is not only about making the takers or the consumers understand, but to create a pool of learned people. So what is your understanding, or what is your vision in that?
Yeah. So if you see, like in academia and industry, there are two different aspects. So academics work in a different way, industry work in a different way. So if you
Right.
see the technology like genomics, so suppose if I am a BSc or MSc graduate, and if I think that what I have learned in my school or a college is that
Mm-hmm.
what I have done, so you cannot work in an industry which is developing day by day, or there are innovation every hour or every minute. So you
Mm.
have to keep on learning every day. So if you are not reading today, you are just outdated. So you have to keep up with the trends every day. So whatever you have studied in your PhD program or a master's or your bachelor level, so that is just a limited base knowledge you are developing, right? So being on the industry part, there are so many technologies which is coming up. So you have to have a pace with whatever is coming up. You cannot say that you do not accept it. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
accept those things with open hand, because if you don't utilize it, you will just be outdated, like
Mm-hmm.
because you find in current scenario the companies who were there 5 years back, they don't exist right now. Even what are the technologies we had, they don't exist right now because things are changing in such a drastic speed that you have to always keep on innovation.
Correct.
So that is one of the things what I would say. And
Mm-hmm.
government plays a very important part in awareness, as
Right.
well as in school colleges. People should be given a little chance to have a multidisciplinary kind of a thing where you get a hands-on mathematics or bioinformatics, a little bit of genomics, a little bit of science, so that in future you can choose your field wisely and based on your passion. For me, like solving one of the biggest problem in India is like cancer. If I can do a little part on it, maybe early detection kind of a
Mm-hmm.
thing also, so that will help a lot of patient, right? so people
Absolutely.
don't will not fall ill that way. So that is
Correct.
one of the primary goals.
Correct. So, uh, what do you think that what kind of skills? I'm talking it in terms of,
Hmm.
like as you said, that you need to be somebody needs to be upscaling or rather upskilling every time. So, as a person from the industry, and that you are running a company on genomics, and you know how what is the scarcity or availability of a good resource to be hired.
Hmm.
So, in that context, what kind of skills you think should young aspirants should acquire who are actually interested into getting into a career in genomics? So, can you just give us a brief idea about
Yeah.
it?
So, as per me, bioinformatician is a very promising kind of a field and a designation for people who are looking for it. So,
Mm-hmm.
these are very highly paid job in India currently, bioinformatician job, maybe on the first top or the second.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a very multidisciplinary kind of a field. You need to have a knowledge on statistics. You need to have a very good hands on mathematics. You need to
Right.
understand biology as well. You have to have a power of computation, as well as you need to work collaboratively with people. Just having the knowledge won't help you out. You need to
Mm.
have a very good team with the scientists who are working, with mathematicians who are working, with different collaborators who are working, maybe oncologists on the practical field, maybe a pathologist on the background. So you need to have a different kind of a multidisciplinary aspect. So just
Mm-hmm.
learning one skill set won't lead you to be a better bioinformatician.
Mm.
So bioinformatics is one of the very promising job I have seen, and it has a huge, immense potential. Because whatever is happening in the healthcare, it is all data driven right now.
Yes.
Whatever it is happening. So even from your electronic health record to X-rays, everything is getting digitalized. So maybe in
Absolutely.
future you don't have to go for an X-ray also. So you just can just take a picture from your phone, and maybe that AI would do the job for you. So that kind of advancement is coming too. So
Yeah.
a lot of potential are there. Bioinformatics, I feel that is one of the very promising jobs right now in India, and it is a very highly payable job. If somebody is looking for a career in genomics and
Mm-hmm.
who has some expertise in maths and science, so I
Mm-hmm.
think bioinformatics is one of the promising field. And there
So
is
do
so
you,
much to contribute in that. There is so
yeah.
much to do in that.
So just that I belong from a healthcare background. Do you think that if medical students or probably students who are from the medical background, like studying a little bit of medicine, maybe allied medical sciences or dental sciences or medical sciences per se, so do you think that that if they come and they want to take up career towards genomics, so uh, what is that scenario? What would be your suggestion for that?
Dr. Gargi, to be very honest, I believe that if you really have a passion in solving one of the biggest problems, so anything and everybody can do things in genomics. But I feel like if I have dedicated more than 15,000 hours in diverse genomics and on the particular field of genomics. So anybody who can dedicate more than 10,000 hours can be a subject matter expert or a domain matter expert. So it hardly matters from what background you are, because I myself from a BCom MBA background, I had a very different industry altogether. I was from hospitality industry. So,
Right.
but this knack and learning the learning what I have learned in diverse genomics as a CEO is like
Mm-hmm.
tremendous for my self career growth, because the best way to learn is how your body functions. So I think that is one of the biggest knowledge you can have. So it
Wonderful.
is like immense priceless, because you know how your body functions. You don't need to visit a doctor for that. You know how to care yourself. You know how to live for 100 years. So I think that is one of the priceless things you can have. So if somebody who has a knack of doing something, or if he really thinks about the society, or if he can give back something to the society, I think genomics is one of the biggest field where he can work and be a fighter in that, because you don't need to be on the border to serve your country. You can be a genetician also.
Right. Thank you so much for that, insight, Saurav. And I think
Yeah.
this was a fantastic conversation. And I wish you all the best with all the efforts that you are creating, the impact that you're envisioning to create with diverse genomics. And particularly, I am so grateful that you are serving the people of Eastern India, particularly you are in Kolkata. And I'm sure that very soon uh, you span out more. And I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy that you are what. And thank you for what you are doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Gagi. Yeah.
Yes, we can. I mean, just some end note from you, and then I think we are done for the day. Probably I will
Okay.
catch you again for some more
Sure,
interesting.
sure, sure, sure. Yeah. So, just the last key point for people who are aspiring to be into the genomic field,
Yeah.
that India has a very immense growth in genomics and healthcare. Compared to
Mm,
any other country, the healthcare is still laid back in India.
mm,
So if you see in, for example, the company, like we work with companies who are generally, like for example, extraction or instrument. So those all are from abroad. I mean, either from USA or China. So
mm.
there is a, I think, as a business mindset, as an entrepreneur mindset, I have like, if why don't we produce something in India? Why do we have to get things outside of India? Maybe a PCR instrument. Why don't India produce that kind of thing?
Correct.
So there are a lot of advantage. We can be a global player in that. We can export medical instrument. Why are we still importing it? So I believe, like for example, we still use IVD kit.
Mm.
So we generally take it from maybe Illumina sequencing platform or reagent. Those are still bought from USA, or imported from USA or China. So India, we are right now a 1.6 billion country, right? So there is no lack of, I mean, talent. The talent pool
Yes,
is still there. So people
absolutely.
need to know how to take a little bit of calculated risk, and if they think that they can solve one of the biggest problem, I think they should get into it. So maybe developing a PCR kit, or developing a reagent, or developing an instrument, developing an extraction kit, developing I mean a collection kit. So there are so many things to be done, and this is just a starting.
Mm.
So it has a huge potential for entrepreneurship also, just not being a scientist or a bioinformatician. If you think that if an idea can change somebody's life, so I think somebody can be a entrepreneur in that way.
Very true. Thank you, Shora, for being here once again. And it was wonderful talking to you. And I'm sure, like me, my audience is filled up energy by seeing this, looking into this conversation. And I wish you all the best again with Diverse Genomics, spanning it out all over India, and particularly that you are serving Kolkata. That makes me really proud of you. Thank you so much, Shora.
Thank you, Dr. Gagi, for your time, and thank you for the invitation. I really liked your podcast. Thank you very much. It's a privilege for me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Bye bye.
Bye.